Hi, my name is Rich Roberge. I was born in New York and I live in Puerto Rico. I'm a guitarist and a multi-instrumentalist. I began composing a few years ago and I'm new to home recording studios. For this week's assignment, I'm going to give a short lesson on signal flow through the channel strip for my DAW. My DAW is Reaper from Cockos. Here we are in Reaper, and as you can see, I have two tracks already created here. The first track is the one we're going to be using to go through the signal flow and in the channel strip, and the second one is a bus track. In Reaper, you can select tracks as input for recording audio, MIDI, or you can use them as a submix or a bus. So let's begin by looking at our input, and we can do that right here under the FX button where it says in, and the input we selected, it could be mono, stereo, or we can force a multi-channel or a MIDI channel. Let's give this track a name, and we're going to call it guitar. We can do that here above this slider, or we can do it in above the bottom slider, actually directly above the panning control knob. Let's call it guitar. Now we're going to go over our outputs. We obviously know that in our signal flow, the signals are going to come through our inputs, and at the end of all the process within the DAW, they're going to go out through the outputs. So let's hit our I/O button here, and we have another option above here, right next to the name. And we're going to select from the pull-down menu that says Audio Hardware Outputs. And we see that we have options there to set up our output. We can also, besides the hardware outputs, we can also send to a bus. In this particular case, we have set up a bus that I called bus string. And now we're going to go and select our plugins and inserts. That's the next step within the signal flow in this DAW. And we select the FX button right here to the right and under the slider. And I have selected already 3 plugins. I can deselect these. I can add or remove them, remove these and add others. And I just have 3 to give you an example of an interesting feature here. In Reaper, you can actually take one of these and you can drag it to the position where you want. This way you have control over your signal flow within the effects chain. Our next step is to go into our send, and now we're actually going to select a send so we can see the controls for the send. And we're going to select our bus string, and it brings up this menu. One of the controls that we're mostly interested in is the selection of post or pre-fader. Reaper also has a pre-effects option, and notice that both the post fader and pre-fader, the post fader is also post pan and the pre-fader is post FX. We also have the separate option of a pre-FX. Besides, we have the level control here for our send. The signal now takes us to the panning knob, where we select how far we want to pan into the left channel or right channel. Please remember that if the input signal is mono, then you're actually panning the signal left or right. But if your input signal is already a stereo signal, then by moving to the right, in the same proportion you move to the right, you are canceling the signal on the left, and vice versa if you pan to the left. And finally, we have our volume level for this track, which you want to use to make sure once you start recording, you want to do a few tests and make sure that the level never goes to red. Keep it in the yellow at a maximum. That concludes my presentation, and I want to thank you for watching. I'll appreciate your constructive criticism, your feedback, suggestions, comments. They are most welcome. I'd really like to hear what you thought. And I wish you best of luck with your assignments and the course in general. Goodbye.